that I and some colleagues are excited about. We think it's promising. We think it's promising in many ways. And we think eventually it will displace current views of the internet. Of course, if we change our way of looking at something, change our way of understanding something, there should be a good reason to do it, and I think there are good reasons to change the way we understand digital information on the internet. We chose our first view of digital information, of the World Wide Web, way too early in the 1990s, before we had any real experience with the cybersphere, with cyberspace, with interconnected computers. And if we change, we get advantages, intellectual and practical. We get a better view of the future of the internet, and we also see simple ways to organize information that were hard to see in the old view. So, we think we ought to see digital information not as we do today as something you gather from the internet, like flowers in a field, but as something that inherently moves, something that's always in motion. Information as something that moves constantly, that is always flowing, constantly in motion. As we think of water in a brook or a stream or a river, as we think about electric current. Instead of cyberspace, we should be thinking about cyber flow. A single, all-inclusive, fast-moving river of information. Instead of many millions of separate websites, a single river. And every user can tune in the part of the river that interests them. Just as I can tune in any TV channel that interests me from the field of many TV or radio stations or channels, only the streams we want to tune in are private. You say exactly what they are. They're different for each person rather than chosen from a list as in television and radio. The reasons to understand digital information in this way, not as something static like water in a pool over there, but as something that's always flowing like water in a stream, are first, it makes the internet easier to understand, as I'll discuss, makes the direction of internet technology easier to see, makes the internet easier to use, and suggests a family of useful new organizing strategies for information. For example, what is the information or data structure? What arrangement of information goes with this event, with an event like this? I would expect, certainly at an event like this, that there should be an online description of the entire event. And each person who arrives gets his own private copy, either to download or ready for you to use in the cloud. It gives the schedule, of course, of what's happening. It's a framework for each person to make notes about people or things he wants to do or things he's seen or airplanes he's heard. So each person has his own copy, and it gives you the schedule, and it's a framework for your own notes. It's the place where announcements are made by the management of the event or the conference, and where the conference talks about things. So the blog or the chat stream or the Twitter stream are all part of this data structure that describes the event. So you arrive with your phone or your laptop, you download this data structure, then it starts to move because the event starts to move. It tells you what's happening. You make notes in it. Events are announced. Changes are announced. Discussions are started within the framework of this data structure. And afterwards, when you go home, you take this and store it with your other data structures. So if you want to remember 2 weeks later what you were doing at this event, or the name of somebody you heard but you can't recall, or the name of some computer or software, you go back to this data structure and you rewind it as you might a digital disc or a videotape, and you replay part of your notes for the conference or the event. So I would think that certainly it goes without saying we all have portable computers. We all have mobile computers. This is an event that's all about computers and technology and the future. It goes without saying that there should be this sort of data structure, but the software technology is not as well developed as it should be. The hardware technology is there, the software technology is not as well developed as it should be, which is one reflection. Again, we thinking of the internet in the wrong way, as a static pool of information instead of a constantly flowing stream. Data structures, software structures, designed to describe not only an event like this, but any kind of event, whether it is an interview or a meeting, a business meeting, or a university education from beginning to end. Any sort of event needs a data structure, needs to have a data structure, organizational framework, and that framework has to be a stream, or it has to flow at the speed of time, because we're talking about events that flow in time, not events that are over the same instant they start, but events that continue. In short, if we think of digital information as flowing through time, and we make that flow easy to see, and we make the flow easy to use, we get a better view of digital information and the net. So, instead of thinking of information as a network of linked sites, we want to think of it as a single river of data. And after all, we care about new data. We need the latest data. That's what the internet does that's so valuable. That's the particular value of the internet. It can supply us with the latest and newest and most up-to-date information. And so internet information is best understood as a flow or a current, constant supply of new information. Again, the internet resembles, or should resemble, a huge electricity distribution network that carries information at enormously high voltage, so to speak. We can think of this constant flow of high voltage information as a world stream. High speed, high volume flow of information. And we all tap into this high voltage main line, this flow of information, when we need it. Of course, we connect to this high voltage main line of information not by means of a transformer, of a voltage transformer, the step-down transformer, but by means of a computer.